right, I'm Mark Hummel, and this is Mark Hummel's Harmonica Party, and we're sitting here in Occidental, California with somebody I've known for many, many years, Nick Gravenites.
Yes, and grab your 90s.
Yes, did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay. And Nick was born in October 2nd, 1938, and you just celebrated your 84th birthday.
Correct. Very good, Mark.
Yes, my memory still works just a tiny bit. And we're going to just talk to Nick about his long career and a lot of the people that he has outlasted. And we're going to talk about songwriting and Chicago blues and Chicago to California, because I think that's a fascinating story. Since so many of you guys, you were literally, as I recall, you were the first of the crew that you were hanging with in Chicago to really make it out to California, weren't you?
Yes, 1959.
Wow. Now, was that with Butterfield or was that before?
No.
That was by yourself.
That was with my friend, Ben Muscovich. He's now a retired philosophy professor down at San Diego State. But back then, he was a student of philosophy at the university, and he had a car.
Mm-hmm.
He had a 54 Ford with a thunder clutch. I don't know if you know what that means, but...
No, I don't.
Oh, well, it's just
you guys just deadheaded it out? Did you stop on the way?
Well, I was at that time living at the University of Chicago at the Phi Kappa Psi fraternity house. That was a notoriously wild fraternity house. I think Animal House was patterned after that fraternity house. It was
that
a wild
could be.
period of time, history at Chicago, you know.
Did you guys have toga parties?
No. We had drunken brawls, you know.
Drunken brawls.
Yeah, because we had people at the university, and they would steal out of the hospital these 5-gallon carboys of grain alcohol.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And we mixed that with various things.
So what proof would that be?
180.
Wow, that's serious.
They use that to clean instruments with.
Wow.
They do. It dries and there's no residue.
That can't taste good.
You have to mix it with sherbet and ginger ale and God
you'd have
knows.
to mix that with something.
Everything.
Yeah.
Just dump it in, you know.
Right. It's not down the old hatch, is it?
No, it was wild. I remember the next day.
Uh-huh.
Went down there and looked into that. It was in a zinc garbage can.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it ate all the zinc off of it.
Jesus.
It was this shiny thing floating on top.
Unbelievable.
Oh, I know it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was crazy. But we were all nuts then, you know. And it was a weird time at the university.
Yeah. Now, was your friend kind of a beatnik?
My friend.
Your friend that you drove out to California with?
No, he was a
He was just a philosophy
student.
Right.
And he had beautiful feet. He was in love with his feet. He thought they were the best looking feet on earth.
I wonder what they look like now, don't you?
Oh, he was a good guy, a sweetheart. And we drove out to California, and we spent, I don't know, a couple of weeks out there until we starved our way out of there. We tried to get work, no work.
So did you go straight to San Francisco?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why stop?
Mm-hmm.
I remember the first time I drove over the Golden Gate Bridge. I was so freaked out.
Yeah.
Look how big it is.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. And
it's
the
an
towers, how tall they are.
Yeah.
And at that time, it was the peak of the post-Beatnik era in North Beach. And I had read all about it. Jack Kerouac, On the Road.
Right.
I would look for the names of these places that he mentioned.
Did you meet any of them out here?
Them.
I mean, like the beat people? Like
some.
Ferlinghetti or Ginsberg?
Ferlinghetti was always around. He had the bookstore. I did meet Bob Kaufman.
Okay.
Who was a real crazy son of a bitch, North Beach guy. got burned out on speed. And I knew some artists and stuff, Michael Bowen. And,
Right, yeah.
but the university at that time, 56 when I went, it was school in transition. It just come off of a period called the Hutchins era. And there's a Hutchins school down in San Diego. He was quite a famous educator. And at that time was the youngest chancellor of the university anywhere in the country.
Wow.
He was a young guy, 34 or 5. And he brought in all these strange, to them, rules. He wanted to recreate the university. And he did. First of all, he eliminated all the qualifications for entrance.
Wow.
If you want to answer, you answered. And if you passed, you're in.
Right.
That was it.
Yeah.
No nonsense, you know. And they had a graduated admission system so that you took a comprehensive exam before you entered the university to see where you were at.
Wow.
And they would grade you. Now, if you were a brilliant mathematician as a kid, as a 16-year-old genius,
right,
they recognized that, and they'd start you off in your junior year.
Wow.
And
that's really unusual.
Yeah, and they do that. They place you in the university at the level which you were effective. Some went right to graduate school. And it was children.
Yeah.
They were boy geniuses, girl geniuses,
right,
applying for the university because they could.
Yeah.
Where else could they do it?
And this was in Chicago.
Yes.
At University of Chicago.
South Side, baby.
Yeah.
Hyde Park.
Hyde Park, yeah.
That's right. That's Obama territory now.
I've been there.
No, it was quite a strange area to be living in.
Yeah.
And you didn't have to go to class. That was not a requirement.
Wow.
The only requirement was the comp exam at the end of the year.
Right.
And that was your grade.
Right.
You didn't have to be there.
So did you get your you graduated from did you? Tell me the truth.
That's a joke. No, I was trun out.
Right. Because I know Elvin Bishop said kind of the same thing. He just dropped out.
Yeah. Well, I was supposedly thrown out.
Were you?
But they didn't have any evidence.
No evidence.
No evidence, but they
couldn't convict you.
They did it anyway. That's all right. I was in the wrong place.
Right.
Eventually, I wound up on the north side, where the action was.
And you grew up where in Chicago? What was the name of the area?
Brighton Park.
Brighton Park, okay.
Which is right next across the river, Chicago River from Bridgeport.
Okay.
Which is Daly's neighborhood. And so I lived on 35th. Daly lived on 36th. Wow. Daly lived on Emerald. Yeah. Of course.
Pretty
Irish.
Close, yeah.
You know, so.
Now, was your neighborhood pretty mixed in terms of ethnicities?
You crazy back? We're talking in the 50s.
Yeah.
Nothing was mixed in Chicago in the 50s.
Right.
Just a couple places.
Yeah. Around
the university. Because it was a university and they had a lot of foreign students.
Right.
So it was mixed housing all around the university. And the only other place was on the near north side around the entertainment section down there. Where the head shops and all that stuff opened up. And that
in
kind
the
of
60s,
action. Clubs and stuff.
Right.
That's where the best blues club on earth was.
Yeah, Big John's.
Big John's, right down there.
Right. Now, was Mother Blues down there too?
Yeah, Mother Blues.
Mother Blues and
Second City.
Right.
Right down the road.
Right.
It was all right there. There were other places around the corner.
Yeah.
And eventually, me and my partner and friend, Jeff Spitz, opened a nightclub there called the Burning Bush.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right around the corner from the other places. So it was kind of nuts.
What was the club that Bloomfield was booking for a minute that was just a coffee house? Fickle Pickle?
Fickle Pickle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Michael's entry into folk music.
Doing shows, yeah.
Well, Michael was a special character. I could go on about him, but
Yeah.
you know, this is about us.
And you guys were, you're about, what, 10 years older than pretty much that whole crew?
Yeah,
Yeah,
8 to 10. Yeah,
right.
I had 10 years on him.
Yeah.
I felt it, you know. I felt I was the older guy.
Right. You're kind of, in a sense, you were almost their mentor. In a
Yeah,
sense.
and they looked at me up to me.
Looked up to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you apparently met all the blues guys prior to them meeting people like Muddy and so on, didn't you?
Oh yeah.
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 Did you meet them in the 50s?
No, in the 60s.
In the 60s. Okay.
In the 50s, I was still a hoodlum
Uh-huh.
with a brain.
A bright hoodlum.
Bright hoodlum.
And you can go a long way like that.
I know. Look at now, the contemporaneous situation.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of bright hoodlums out there right now.
Yeah, well,
they're all in the GOP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, everybody in Chicago I thought was a crook.
Right.
Because
Well, yeah.
of the tradition.
Yeah.
Capone.
Yep.
This was Capone's
Daily.
town. Everybody was a crook.
Everybody. Yeah.
And the only way you could make any money
Right.
was to be a crook.
Yeah. Yeah.
This or that, gambling.
That's not a good example, is it?
No. Capone. First of all, the black people in Chicago, they loved Capone.
Yeah.
They loved him.
Now, why was that?
He put them to work.
Right.
Either tap dancing,
Right.
playing in the band, sweeping, serving, cooking.
Right.
He hired them all.
He gave him jobs. Yeah.
Yeah, he gave them all jobs. Al Capone, they loved him.
Now, how about Daly? Did Daly give him work or not really?
No, Daly was a stone out racist, like me and my friends. We were all racist then.
Were you?
Oh yeah.
So what changed that? Getting to know them? Getting to know them.
No, life changed. That's all.
Yeah.
That's the way I was raised. I was raised in a racist neighborhood. There were
Yeah, that was pretty much the general.
There were no black people in the neighborhood. None.
So how is it you ended up hanging out in black clubs then?
University of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
I went there. It was right there in the South Side, in the middle of the best blues clubs in Chicago.
Right.
It was right there. Hyde Park was a pretty crazy neighborhood. See, Butter and I used to hang out in Hyde Park. He lived there.
Right. I knew he was from there. Yeah.
Yeah, his family was from there.
Right.
He was raised there. He went to Hyde Park High, you know.
Now, how old was he when he started playing harmonica? Do you remember?
Oh, I'm not sure. I remember how old he was when he started playing with me.
How old was he then?
16, 17, he was a kid. I'm living there on 53rd Street in the same rooming house with Paul. He had the room next to me. It was crazy. It was the landlady, Vicky Kokoris, and then there was Karen Stern, who was an artist living in the front room. I lived in the room next to her. Then there was a bathroom, and then Butterfield's room. Then down the hall was Vicky, the landlady. That's where we lived.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw him every fucking day.
And how did you meet him? What was that?
How did I meet him? I met him at the University of Chicago Folklore Society Wingding Hootenanny.
Huh, okay.
There's a difference, you know.
Between Wingding and Hootenanny?
Oh, yeah, sure.
What is the difference?
Hootenanny is when everybody gets together and sings the songs together. You know?
Oh, okay, interesting.
And a wingding is when individuals.
Okay, so I guess we're going to have to rename our Hootenanny to Wingding.
Yeah, yeah, hey.
Because we're calling it a Hootenanny, and I guess it's not officially.
Hey, I'm trying to be historic here.
No,
you know?
I appreciate that. I've never heard Wingding before. So you got into the Folklore Society?
Yeah, that's...
And that was that in the 50s or early 60s?
No, 1956.
56.
That's when I went to the university.
Right.
And everything resulted from that. And that's when I first started bumping into black and brown people. there at the
Yeah.
university. I
Okay.
didn't know any others.
Were they in the folk society at all?
No, they
No.
just lived there.
Just lived there, yeah.
Yeah, there was their neighborhood.
Right.
I got to know black people that way,
Mhm.
just as friends.
Yeah. Did you introduce Butterfield to that world, kind of, would you say?
We used to travel around together,
Uh-huh.
Nick and Paul. I'd sing, play guitar, and Paul would play harmonica and do some singing.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd go up to the universities and do hootenannies, wingdings there, Madison, Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
Went up there and did a gig.
So
Good
there was
musicians.
kind of a circuit of folklore societies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also we went up to Ann Arbor, up to University of Michigan up there,
Right.
Ann
Yeah,
Arbor.
that's
And
a
we
bit of a
played up
haul.
there.
Yeah.
We almost got arrested there.
Really?
Yeah. We were hiding around on the campus so it would get dark and they wouldn't recognize us. We wound up playing. That's where I met Billy Roberts. Do you know who he is?
Now, is he the Hey Joe guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's the Hey Joe guy. Exactly. Very well done. I met Billy there.
Did you?
Yeah, me and Butter were downstairs in the bathroom downstairs behind the stage. This was a huge stage.
Yeah.
And a huge downstairs.
Yeah.
So we're down there in that back room because we playing.
Mm-hmm.
Because we like the acoustics with the tile and
Right,
everything.
right,
So
right.
the door opens up. There's Billy Roberts' face. He says, "What's going on in here?" And that's how I met him. But he went nuts, and so,
Did he?
yeah.
Did he end up out here?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
he ended up in San Francisco?
Oh, yeah. He played around.
Yeah.
Sure, I've got videos of him and I play together at
Wow.
the old Waldorf.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
This is part 2 of Nick Gravenites on Mark Hummel's harmonica party. And we were talking about Billy Roberts and Ann Arbor when he walked in on you and Paul Butterfield. And was this in the 50s or was this in
60s.
60s?
About 60, 61. I'm vague now.
Yeah. Do you remember how you got your work like in these folk societies? Did you call them up or did you have an agent that would do it or? Do you remember how that worked?
We were getting to be known as a hot little duo.
Oh, okay.
We used to do this Nina Simone song called "Flow Me La." Flow, flow, flow me la, flow, flow, flow me la, flow, flow, flow me la, flow, flow, flow me la.
Man, you guys were hip back then, weren't you?
I'd do the guitar.
Damn.
And then Paul would do the
Hip to
harmonica.
Nina Simone, man.
That's how he started with improvisational on weird themes
Right.
on that song.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, now I heard the same thing about East West, that you kind of came up with that concept of that song. Is that true?
Yes. I wrote a song called "It's About Time," and that was the basis of that.
Uh-huh.
And when I played with Bloomfield in '65 or something,
Yeah.
we worked that song out. And indeed, we improvised on the instrumental.
Right.
And that's how East West started.
Kind of get into the almost Indian raga type stuff.
Yeah,
on it.
he was like, that's how that started, East West.
Yeah. So in a lot of ways, it was like you guys were not just traditional blues guys. You guys really went into a lot of different avenues of music.
Well, that's
you
folk
know.
music
Yeah,
for you.
because of folk music.
Yeah,
Yes,
we did all
exactly.
kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
We did songs from the Boer War.
Really?
Yeah, sure.
Wow.
Yeah, we are marching to Pretoria. Sure, we do that stuff.
Are you pulling my leg on?
No. We do all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
We did flamenco.
Did you? Well, I think that was one of the things that kind of probably made you guys so popular when you came to the San Francisco area.
Well, I don't know.
Adventurous, I should say.
Well, that was Butterfield and Bloomfield.
So you were doing Nina Simone songs at some of these folk societies.
Yeah, and Paul would do these long instrumentals, and that's
really? Okay.
how. Yeah.
Wow.
You know, da, 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 you know, he would start
Interesting.
doing his
So
thing.
yeah, that's interesting.
I love Nina.
Yeah, she's
Her
awesome.
earlier first album.
Oh, she was awesome. She had that really wide range of songs that she would pick?
Well, the
Yeah.
first time I heard her do Little Liza Jane. You ever heard her do that?
I don't think I have.
Well,
I'll look it
you
up.
better,
I will look it up.
because that to me was the first folk rock
Right.
ever. And I can't remember the guitarist's name. He was a real great, played what I consider modern folk guitar. He could do anything.
Yeah.
He was good.
Yeah.
He had a feel for it. I remember that. I say, man, that's the first folk rock I've ever heard. That
Yeah.
was him.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Now, how about somebody like Richie Havens? Did you guys know each other when he came through Chicago or
I knew him from New York.
from New York? Okay. And this was mid 60s?
Had to be early 60s.
Early 60s. Okay. So did you go to the Village and all that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was playing at a club called the Fat Black Pussycat.
I don't think that would exist today, do you?
It used to be called Fiend John's.
Ah. Okay.
And then it was a Fat Black. And then Richie was playing there. I'll go listen to him play.
Yeah.
And over the years, we bump into each other and
Yeah.
bullshit a little bit. We had a good time.
Now, did you play some of those clubs when you were still doing acoustic folk music?
No, I don't think I ever. Only once later with the Flag.
Well, you played there with the Flag for sure.
Yeah.
Cafe
Other
Road
than that,
or
but
whatever,
no. 1963.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm living in New Jersey, Lake Hiawatha, New
Wow.
Jersey. There was no lake there.
Just the sign.
Yeah, it was a good name for a town. Lake
Yeah,
Hiawatha. There's no lake
yeah.
there. In fact, the only thing a town is famous for is Bobby Darin.
Ah,
That was his hometown.
Okay.
And I was living there with my friend Ira Nelson, but mainly his family, Max and Sonia. They were building a brand new store, wrecking the old one, building the new one next to it. And then Ira got drafted. So Ira called on me as a friend to come and work at his family's deli and liquor store in Lake Hiawatha, which I
Wow.
did.
Yeah. And he had you come from Chicago.
Actually, I came from California.
Oh, you came from California. Okay.
Yeah, right after the time we were living in a commune in Monterey.
What do you remember? What year the commune was? They're like
Must have been 63.
60. Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know there were communes back that far.
Well, it was I had a friend,
Mm-hmm.
he's been dead for years, named Ambrose Hollingsworth. He was originally a beat poet from Greenwich Village,
Mm-hmm.
wound up on the West Coast,
Mm-hmm.
hanging out with the Beatniks.
Right.
I knew him in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
My friend Bugsy, Todd Cazot, he introduced me to him as a metaphysician. I want you to meet my friend Ambrose. He's a metaphysician. I said, what? What you say, metaphysician? Went over there, talked to him. He introduced me to the I Ching and
okay.
astrological
Yeah.
shit. And Carl Jung.
Right.
All right. Enough.
Welcome to that world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Metaphysician's world.
Right.
And so later, I get a call from Bugsy, Todd,
Mhm.
and he said, you got to go talk to Ambrose and his wife, Arlene, and their baby daughter, Alexandria. And they begged me to take them to California with us. I was with my wife, who was pregnant. I did.
Mhm.
And off we went to California. I drove them to fucking Wyoming. And I drove them, I left them off.
Uh-huh.
They got their drive-away car and off we went. I didn't see them for quite a while. Showed up at my house one day, out of the blue.
Mhm.
What's he want? There's this place down in Monterey. Bring a whole bunch of people there to start a commune. We all wound up going down there to Monterey, to this big house. We had 3 separate domiciles, and like 17 people all together amongst the 3 places.
Yeah.
We had a commune going.
Wow.
We have a meeting before dinner, if there was any.
Mm-hmm.
Try to get something going, get to work, food.
Right.
We was fucking starving.
How did you get food?
Gifts. One guy brought by this fucking dead seal. Seal?
Ugh.
Ugh. You can't eat it.
That sounds awful. Yeah.
Can't eat the liver, it'll kill you.
Will it?
Yeah, vitamin
Really?
A.
I've
yeah,
never heard that.
overdose. Yeah.
Wow.
A guy named Patrick Cassidy. He was a beatnik guy from San Francisco. He had a history. Spent some time in prison. He was known as the gentleman bandit.
Wow.
He stuck up a bunch of places. They finally got him, put him in jail.
Right.
He got out, wound up hanging out with the serious beatniks in North Beach,
Right.
and then wound up going down to Monterey and Big Sur.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where he established himself. He found a spot, he built a house out of what was there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a brilliant house.
Mm-hmm.
A big house, it had the fire pit, the ceiling, I told you, it had a terrace.
Right.
He had a piano up there. He had trombone, a trumpet. One of his jokes was at 4 a.m, when the monks woke up, you hear the bells. He'd get up with his trumpet and his horns. He'd give me the horn. Play. I says, how do you play? I says, well, he says, I learned from the Chinese in Korea. They just blow. Oh, okay, blow. So we wanted to harass the monks.
The monks love that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he was great. He had a bound edition of a Bollingen's edition of pressed plates, not bound, plates of Ramesses VI tomb.
Wow.
And so I'm leafing through these plates, and I got a feeling that I knew these people.
Wow.
They were like normal, everyday people with a sense of humor. After we woke up the goddamn monks, Patrick, he wound up starting growing pot down there. And he had a forestry service called Tree Bones. Tree Bones and pot. And he's the guy that started the annual pot party down there.
Really?
The harvest party. And it was going great until some asshole put it on the internet.
Well, it wouldn't have been the internet back then. It would have been something else.
He put it somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. Newspapers or something.
He fucked it for everybody. He stopped to.
Right.
Had to. Thousands of people were showing up.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Now, did you ever perform at those?
Not at those particular ones, no.
Mm-hmm.
Various ones around. I did some Hell's Angels gigs.
Right.
Those are interesting.
Yeah, I bet. Now, was that the San Francisco Hells Angels or Oakland?
Both. I used to do benefits. One, they were auctioning off this Chocolate George, I think it was called. They were auctioning off his bike. He died.
Huh.
He got killed.
Yeah.
I had tickets. And I'm saying, please, God, don't let me win this bike. Because if you win it,
right,
you have to ride it out of it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get on that bike.
Right.
So thankfully, I didn't win. Got out of there. Did one in the middle of the woods. Out near Santa Cruz.
Right.
Someplace out there. Did a show for the Hells Angels.
Right.
But I didn't have my regular piano player, so I got this guy by recommendation.
Yeah.
It was a mistake. The guy was a flake.
Right.
He kept flaking, and I kept getting pissed off, and I shut the band down.
Right.
That's it, I've had it.
Yeah.
This angel comes up to me and says, hey, what'd you guys quit playing for? I said, I'm sorry, but this guy got me so freaked out I can't play. I have to shut it all down. He says, what guy? There's a guy over there. I says, oh. He says, do you want me to take care of him for you? That's when I learned about playing for the Angels.
Whoa.
That question.
Yeah, yeah.
I said, oh, no.
He's not that bad. He might get better.
The guy was going to kill him. Unbelievable.
So one question I got, at that point, were you already living out here when you're doing those Angels parties?
Yeah.
You're living out here? So when did you actually make the Bay Area your home?
Well, I told you, I came out in 59 for a
Right.
while.
Right.
I went back in 60, 61.
Okay.
I stayed around for a while. I
Mm-hmm.
played at the Coffee Gallery, did folk music.
Right.
I went back to Chicago
Right.
because I always have to when I'm
And
destroyed.
that's when you open this, right?
That's 65.
Yeah. You had that going, which is amazing. And the story you were just telling me about James Cotton playing at his first gigs at the Burning Bush.
You know, he formed his band.
Formed
there.
his band there.
It was their rehearsal place. I had
Right.
a couple of weeks empty.
Right.
So I said, well, rehearsed. They did.
Yeah. And that was 66? Is that right?
65.
65. Okay. So he was at he left Muddy right around that same time.
Well, the way Cotton told me, Cotton asked Muddy for a raise.
Oh. Okay.
And of course, Muddy said no.
Right.
But the way he said it, he says, I don't pay no extra money to some harmonica player.
Wow. Yeah.
And that hurt James.
That must have hurt him, yeah,
It
because he'd
did.
been with him for like 10 or 12 years.
11 years.
Yeah.
10 or 12 is 11.
11. You're still sharp, buddy.
Oh, well, I watched the Antiques Roadshow.
So how did, and your buddy Gordon Kinnerly basically
He called.
found the guys
Yeah, he called.
to make that band?
He called Gordon in San Francisco and told him what Muddy said. And Gordon said, hell, form your own band. He says, I'll come out there. We'll find the people. You give me their names, I'll go get them. And he did.
Yeah.
Cotton went to Chicago from California.
Mm-hmm. You mean Gordon? Yeah.
Gordon.
Right. Did he pretty much pick out exactly who he wanted, like Luther Tucker on guitar and
Yeah, he knew these guys.
Bobby Anderson and
Yeah,
Sam Lay?
They were pretty well settled.
Right, right. And from what I understood, I think Cotton told me that Clay was actually his choice first, but Clay was still hooked up with Muddy, so he got Sam to kind of fill in.
Oh, that's
Sam
great.
Lay.
Fortuitous. But that's how it all started.
Right.
Other things happened. The Steve Miller Band
Mm-hmm.
started there in that club.
Did they really?
Yeah.
In the Burning Bush? Wow.
Yeah.
Too much.
They had a crazy band.
Now, who was in that? Was that Boz in there as well?
No, Boz was
Later?
still traveling up to Wisconsin.
Okay.
Up to
So
Madison.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
he
Right.
passed through.
Right. I
Big
knew about
jingle
that.
balls of fucking hashish. And he went up to Madison and Steve stayed in, there was some kind of a hassle. We went up to Wisconsin once to play a folk thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he played there. It was called Steve Miller and His New Music. Well, his new music was Steve and a bunch of tape recorders. I'm serious.
Wow.
That was it. That's the first time I ever saw anything like that.
That's crazy. So he had no band other than
No,
himself.
yeah, just different things he was
Wow.
doing. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That was weird.
That
Me
is
and Butter were
bizarre.
there. Oh, it was crazy.